for joining us and tuning into this virtual format where we continue to bring authors and new books to you. I have the pleasure of hosting this evening's session, and I'm absolutely delighted as we welcome our guest author and illustrator, Ahmet Zappa and Dan Santat, to tell us more about their new book, Because I'm Your Mom. Before we get started, we have some housekeeping notes. Please note that closed captioning is available for today's program. Click the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen and select Enable Transcript. You can click the link we'll drop in the chat to get your very own copy of Because I'm Your Mom. Lastly, if you have a question for our author or illustrator, you can click the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and add one there. At the end of the presentation, they'll have time to answer some of your questions. You can also upvote the questions you like and want answered. Now on to the event you're waiting for. Ahmet Zappa is a best-selling author, musician, film producer, screenwriter, and radio talk show host. Zappa grew up with a learning disability and now writes books to help children discover how wonderful reading can be. He lives in Los Angeles and loves pancakes, heavy metal, and all 5 of his smushy-faced dogs. Dan Santat is the best-selling author and illustrator of The Adventures of Beagle, The Unimaginary Friend, Are We There Yet? And After the Fall, as well as graphic novels, Sidekicks, The Aquanaut, and his newest one that just came out a few weeks ago, A First Time for Everything. He's the illustrator of many other picture books. Dan lives in Southern California with his wife, 2 kids, and various pets. It's my pleasure to turn the event over to them.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Nice
What is up, Dan?
Here we are zooming 1,000 miles now. We're on the East Coast and we literally live maybe 20, 30 minutes away from each other.
Yeah, I don't think I think we probably could have gotten together in
the same room.
Yeah. As far as I know, the pandemic's over. So, but I hesitate to just arbitrarily just invite myself over. You can put me in that cage behind you if you want.
Yeah,
that would have made you feel
the
safer.
Dogs are outside because I didn't want them to disrupt our little presentation. So, I'm trying to remember when we first pitched this idea. It was like 2019, was it?
This book, well, I mean, I think our journey goes farther back.
Oh, sure. Yeah. With our first New York Times best-selling book.
That's right.
Which was
for I think 2010. Yeah, maybe. Oh,
and that's
I do have it here, but it'll take a moment to kind of find when it was first published. I'm not going to look for that now. I'm not going to waste our time. It was many years ago. It had to have been because my daughter is 12. So the process for me, at least in writing the book, started right when I found out I was going to be a dad.
Okay.
And I was fortunate enough to have a publisher, be interested in it. And, they had seen some of my monster kind of illustrations and they were like, are you going to also illustrate the book? And I had zero confidence that I could do that. And I was like, but I'm sure you have to know somebody. And it was like, you were the impossible person to get. It was like asking Martin Scorsese to do a children's book. That's how awesome you are, Dan. So if not enough people, if they do not realize that you are the man, Dan, the man, then they should, because my working experience with you, the way that you kind of brought things to life and our, correspondence, it was a pleasure. It was so much fun. I felt like the whole world kind of was brought to life. And I have, I've considered you a friend for 12 years. You know what I mean?
Wow. Thank you so much. I didn't realize that, God, what was 2010? And then we had this delightful experience working on the book together. And the one thing that I noticed for me professionally, as a professional highlight, was that it was the first time I ever got on the New York Times bestseller list. So, thanks for that. And I don't know about you. You look at the sales every time Father's Day comes along, you get that nice little spike around Father's Day. And here we are 10 years later, it's still selling like hotcakes.
Yeah. I don't, so you have kids, right?
Yes, I have 2 boys.
Okay, so I don't know if you ever, when you decided you were going to make a book, maybe, I don't know if you did this, because like, I'm going to be a dad, so I'm going to make a book to, because I'm going to be a dad, I want to do something that's, for them, right?
Right.
So
I think I know where this is going. Go ahead.
okay, so my daughter Halo,
Yeah.
who you immortalized in the book as a very adorable monster. I mean, the pride, she's the one of the best things ever happened to me. And being able to have a book that she was able to enjoy that I got to read to her was one of the best experiences. And then, you're going to have a second kid. And you're like, I have to do that again, right? And time management, you know what I mean? And just trying to figure it out. So, dude, this was a Herculean task, truly. I think we were fortunate enough that our publisher wanted to do one, right? Do a follow-up. Yeah. But this should have happened. It should have happened, years ago. But I am grateful that today that the book is finally out because I'm your mom. The advanced copy that we got. So I have a son named Arrow, as you know.
Okay.
Since Arrow's in this new book. But it was the first book he ever read out loud.
Fantastic. I was just going to ask you how old Arrow is.
Oh, the tears. Arrow is 6.
Okay.
So big deal, and I'm just eternally grateful that you would consider doing this again with me, right? Yeah. I hope that this is one of many fun projects that we get to do together. But the experience for people who don't know, you work on at least my experience is, you work on the text. For me, that process, if anyone cares, the first book certainly was how I wanted to honor my own parents and celebrate the fun I had with them, but also I was thinking about the kinds of opportunities I'd love to have with my daughter and what I would bring to the parenting game, and try to have that be visualized.
Right.
And I really felt on the first book that we did, and I have a Pisces moon, so I'm a softie, Dan. I don't know what sign you are. I'm a Taurus with Pisces.
I'm a Libra, so I'm flexible.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Easy going.
It just was. I'm filled with so much gratitude. I felt like I've honored my mom and dad, and they have since passed. I hang on all of these, every memory I cherish, and then this book, Because I'm Your Mom, I'm married to one of the greatest human beings of all time. My wife Shayna is a super mom. She's the gasoline in my engine. She is my best friend. She's stone cold fox. She's just the greatest. And so this book is extra special because I've been able to witness the joy, sensitivity, spirituality, all of these elements that my wife has brought to the parenting game, in our household. Right. And it's as much, for me at least, in the text, honoring our lifestyle, her parents, Shayna's parents, the way that they parented, because she turned out so great. So it's really a mix of a lot of hopefully fun things that maybe as parents you'll be inspired to do, both because I'm your dad and now because I'm your mom. Yeah. I always viewed this as like just try living like we do for a moment, of trying to live as fun as possible and trying to get on the same wavelength as these young minds. And it's like, how do you try to live as hilariously as possible, bring as much creativity as you can to parenting, because even if you can only do that a few times, I'm telling you, those will be long lasting memories. And I don't know about you, Dan, but I get so many comments about eating Rocky Road ice cream in the bathtub.
Bathtub, right? Yeah, I was
Right?
just gonna say I get to live a surreal life through all this. Just I mean, like things like going to visit it's something even as simple as like going to visit the ancient pyramids. Like I don't know as an American if I can do that safely, but like I get to live my life vicariously through that. Things like that. But I mean, there's tons of really surreal experiences that go on through this book. And I have to say, because it had been, what, 10 years since we had done the other book, I kind of had to get back into that mindset of remembering how to even draw the characters and things like that and revisit it. And my artwork has evolved over the years. I have to say, I mean, on a personal level, like I'm very happy with the way the work turned out. And so
you really have some amazing perspective shots. Because some of the you have to, I mean, I'm sure maybe you want to speak to the artistic math problem of trying to fit and to visualize and really tell the story of the small text on the page, right? So that evolution of how these monsters live. And one of the things I love in Because I'm Your Mom is the perspective of the feet on the swings. And
I was just turning to that then right there. Yeah, that one.
And I have to say that is such I think a parent shot, because I know what that's like to push maybe not in the safest way. When you as a dad
also, it is the wish fulfillment. What kid didn't want to try to go 360 on a swing, So that's what we're flexing here. That's what we're trying to do. But then you exercise it again on a roller coaster and you realize, oh, as a parent, my personal experience of going on a swing here, I'm at 47 years old. I go on a swing and my body has so much weight that the inertia just makes me sick. Like just riding on a swing now. I never thought I'd see that day. But
wow. Maybe you and I later on can go to the park and go on the swings and try to work through this together. You know what I mean?
Right. Holding hands like, oh dear God.
I'll buy you a bomb pop.
Yeah, sounds good. Nice. The stuff that you can only find in the fine, ice cream trucks and all throughout Los Angeles.
Absolutely. Out of the amount of time we've actually known each other and spoken, I don't think I've actually ever asked you if any of these things that I did and do, because everything in the book are things that we try to do, have plans to do. I mean, I haven't gone to Egypt yet, but that's on my personal sort of wish list, and I'm getting closer to that. I mean, with a name like Ahmet, which I'm Sicilian, so that's a whole other kettle of fish and how I got my name. Ahmet Imuka Rodan Zappa. My parents used to imagine they had a genie named Ahmet, and they would go, Ahmet, bring us the peanut butter. So, that's how I got my first name. But knowing that that's an Egyptian name, I've always kind of been obsessed with Egypt, and I have to go. I have to go, and I want to take my kids there. But I haven't had a chance to go ahead. Sorry, I'm talking a million miles a minute. This is my question. Did any of the things that are in the book, did you do any of that stuff, or what was it like for you growing up? Did we nail like something that was a moment for you that was like, I do that and I like doing this? Or I'm just curious on your upbringing.
Well, it's interesting because my parents, they came from Thailand. And so when they came to America, I think, they had gotten to a point where just being in a foreign country was a huge like endeavor for them. So, I mean, I had some experiences like my father was the type of person that would just say, oh, hey, one day just had the idea, hey, let's go to Las Vegas. And, okay. And we'd get in the car and we'd drive to Vegas. And my father would know nothing about Vegas. And we'd get there and he'd look at the strip. And I remember one time I was about, this is a terrible story. I was 10 years old and we get to Vegas and we see Bally's, and my dad was a huge Rodney Dangerfield fan. And so he said, let's stay at Bally's, right? And we go, we check in, and then my dad, he wasn't familiar with gambling of any kind. So he said, let's go gambling. And I'm sitting on his lap. We're putting coins in the slot machine, pulling the handle, and then like all of this, we win, and like all these coins are just shuffling out. And then the security guard comes up and he's like, "What on earth are you doing?" And my dad looks over with all the coins just shuffling out. And he's like, "Oh, we're winning," you know. and then he says, "No, your son can't be on the gambling floor. He has to be 21." And he was just like, "Oh, I didn't know that," you know? And he says, "Well, you know, what can we do then?" He's like, "Well, your son has to be off on the gambling floor." And this was like the 1980s. So my dad says, "Go wait over there." Like, and I'm just sitting on the bench for like 2 hours watching my parents gamble, like in Vegas. Like,
Well, here,
know.
let me give you one of these, and I hope this slow clap helps that emotional distress that put you
Right. So,
put
you
you
know,
through.
like my experiences of like vacationing and going on adventures and stuff, like it wasn't like they were very self-conscious about making sure that I didn't gain too much weight. So I didn't get to have the big mountain of, you know, pancakes or eat Rocky Road ice cream in a bathtub. But, you know, like I get to live vicariously in this book. You know, like there are some certain things that I do get to do. Like we're going to go to Japan in August. So, you know, it's one of those things where I see in the book where I'm living vicariously through your characters, but also like now that I'm a parent, I can like spoil my kids in that way because that's all you really want to do. You just want to
Yeah,
like give your kids what you didn't get, right? And
absolutely.
so that's where I'm at. So I can totally relate. I can totally relate, and you know, it's one of
Well,
these things where
some of the things that might seem like they were fun decisions, like you know, having, you know, breakfast for dinner and dinner for breakfast,
sure.
those kind of situations, that was more because my dad would sleep all day and work all night. So when we wanted to see him, you know, when he'd be, you know, waking up, you know, he'd have like beef stroganoff in the morning. You know what I mean?
I was a dinner for breakfast kind of kid though. Like I would grab the leftovers and I would just polish that off like while I'm watching Saturday morning cartoons. That was the kind of kid that I was, you know. So that's not unusual for me. I was never a breakfast guy until I married my wife, and then breakfast was like her favorite meal of the day. So then I had to like learn to love eggs and omelet and things like that.
Breakfast burritos are really it's the prince of foods as far as
It is now to me. Yeah, like I absolutely adore. Yeah, I absolutely love like omelets and all that. Yeah.
Do you remember your favorite children's book that or I'm curious, what were your, as an illustrator and a storyteller, what were what's like the book that kind of blew you away? Was there one? Because I know what the ones, I mean, these are the books that my parents would read, you know, so I'd certainly have my
Right. So my parents weren't familiar with Western classics. So like for me, you know, a lot of it was self-discovery. My favorite books were Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I love the entire concept of like, you know, fried chicken raining from the sky. I love Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And then I love some of the other ones that you don't hear about too often, like Sammy the Seal. But you know, in terms of like books that I sat down and I just was enamored with was Encyclopedia Brown by Donald J. Sobol.
Mhm.
You know, those are the ones that really got me into it. Secret of Nim, like that was a great one too. How about yourself? What were you into?
Well, I had really bad dyslexia, and I still have issues with it, but I've figured out ways to kind of compensate for, you know, my reading challenges. So I loved anytime my mother would aside from, you know, first picture books and then maybe you know, like a middle grade book. So let's see. Leo the Late Bloomer
Okay. Yeah.
was a book that my mother would read to me all the time, and I kind of felt like maybe someday I'll, you know, be able to read
Yeah.
or whatever
Oh,
my
that's
kind
a
of
classic. Yeah,
personal struggles were. That really spoke to me.
right.
I loved, there was this book called The Tiger's Voyage. I love the painted illustrations on that. The Rainbow Goblins or the Rainbow Bandits was another one that I thought
That one
was
sounds familiar. Yeah.
really great. And of course, lots of Dr. Seuss books were so fun. Those were easier to kind of read, and you know, the pictures were so awesome. But I think the all-time classic, and it's terrible, but you know, Where the Wild Things Are was maybe had the most impact on me, and my dad actually went to the tattoo parlor with me while I got this done. So that's a weird memory.
That's awesome. No, I mean, I have a couple that are, this is from my book After the Fall, because it's a story about Humpty Dumpty, and he turns into a bird at the end. And then here, my editor and I, we both agreed that if I won the Caldecott medal, we'd get a beagle tattoo. So that was my first tattoo, and like one of the most sensitive spots, on the body, So, but
well done.
Now the whole arm feels empty. You just feel like you need to fill it up with stuff. You know what I mean?
All right, so then let's give ourselves a tattoo challenge. What do we got? What do we, what's the gambit here?
I know, right? Gosh, it's one of those things where you think to yourself, I've made a clear distinction that I just want to put tattoos on the left side, like on the arm that I create art with.
Right.
I don't know what standards you put for yourself, but like I'm just thinking, no, it clearly has to, but then also it has to blend into one another. And like I'm always the type of person that's very particular about the tattoo artist. I don't know about you, but like I'll go on Instagram and I'll just look through like dozens and dozens of people.
I know what we should do. Okay. I'm a horrible illustrator, but
I need to see these drawings that you were talking about actually sometime.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hand you a tattoo gun. You get to give me a tattoo, and then I get to give you one. That's just what we're going to do.
That's hilarious.
Here, I'll try to get why don't we do a monster? How fast can we draw a monster challenge?
Yeah.
But I got to get a piece of paper to kind of
I do as well. I'm going to grab myself a Sharpie. And then
give me 1 second. I'm gonna go grab a piece of paper, but you can't start yet. So maybe Susan, who is on here, maybe we should take a quick question. Maybe get a question for Dan if there is one. While I go get a piece of paper, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hello.
All right. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer, or like when he gets back, we'll do our quick drawings of our monsters, and then we will do a reading of the book.
Okay.
But in the meantime, you know what I think would be great? I'll show you my sketchbook. So I have my sketchbook here. So
you knew what my first question was. I want to see pictures.
Oh, sounds good. So yeah, we have a piece of paper here, so we're ready to get going. All right, so how much time are we going to give ourselves here?
To draw a monster?
Yeah.
Which monster? What kind of a monster? What are we doing? Okay, all right. How many eyes?
Do you remember how to draw our characters? I was thinking maybe I was going to draw one of our characters.
Well, I'll draw the character as I would draw it. The big.
You know what? I like that idea. I like the idea. You want to draw the mom?
Yeah.
Actually, draw it the way you would draw it. Don't even look at mine. Just come up. I'm curious to see what the book would have looked like had you illustrated. I want to know what kind of monster you would have made. That's what I want.
I'm gonna make the dad. I'm gonna make the dad.
Okay, sounds good. All
and
right.
And then I'll try to make the mom. All right. So I'm gonna.
So no rush. No rush. Just do your thing, and then we'll just discuss as we are going. So let's begin.
I start with the horns first. Where do you start?
I like to start with the face. That way I have a good sense of what proportions I am working with. And so kids out there, when you go to art school, usually what they like to do is they like to tell you that the head is the best use of creating proportions for the rest of the body. So now I have just saved you all over $100,000 of art school, and and then you have to squint at your work. That's the other important part, and I'm glad I went to art school to learn all that. But when I think about drawing monsters, I actually end up in a place where I am overwhelmed by so many options that I end up stymieing myself because I second guess my decisions, when really I think the best part about drawing is just to kind of go with the flow and figure it out and understand that there's no wrong answers.
That's where it would have started for me.
Yeah. So, oh my God, you belted that out super fast. So is that kind of Had I known, like, I know I definitely would have gone in that direction, doing the illustrations for this book.
Well, I clearly you're a far better illustrator, but I'll do a mom. And if anyone wants one of these drawings, I don't know how we can get in touch with you. I'm sure everyone would want Dan's illustrations more than mine. But I'm signing this.
I don't know if there's any. I don't know if there's any folks here who are attending who live in the Los Angeles area. But Ahmet and I will be presenting at the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books,
and I will happily draw anyone a monster there.
We will do an in-person reading, and then I believe we do a signing afterwards. So it would be lovely to see you all. I believe that is in May or April. Anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah, you can just Google it, and I'm sure you'll be able to find it. And again, like here I am. I'm already running out of paper because I started it too large. And then perhaps we should do a reading of our book, and then we'll answer some questions. How's that sound?
That sounds epic.
Yeah.
And I am almost done with the mom. The horns are quite the challenge here. And again, speed over any sort of accuracy.
Drawing in public has always been my glass jaw.
People, this makes for a really great video. It's almost like the magic of radio, where there's a lot of silence and a lot of nothing happening, and this is really, really wonderful.
That's why we're talking it out. And so, I mean, is Arrow excited that this book is out today?
The whole family. I got big hugs, big love. They're all very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, it's when I say I get emotional, I really hope I don't kind of start to cry. Both endings of the book really kind of mess me up. I don't know if you ever got emotional drawing the illustrations.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're telling me that you shed a few tears.
So yeah, especially with Beagle, because Beagle, the book is a metaphor about the day my son was born, and so that had me. If you look at videos of me talking about Beagle, if you find them on YouTube, like a lot of the videos have me just breaking down and crying in those videos. They're immortalized on YouTube now. So that's the awkwardness of my life.
Have you ever the movie Red Dawn, the Patrick Swayze version?
Yeah.
There's
the only version, quite frankly. Let's be honest.
Well, there's a version. That version, there's a scene where he blows this ginormous snot bubble in a very dramatic scene. And I'm just wondering, on any of your videos where you're talking about, your books, did you ever blow a giant snot bubble? Because maybe today,
I have not. I don't have that kind of phlegm in my system. But there was one time I had a friend who he told his son to take a photo of me, and then he ended up accidentally shooting 8 seconds of video of me eating a slice of pizza. And for some reason on YouTube that has 12,000 views. I don't know why.
What do you think? Are they similar?
There we go.
Yeah, yours are so much better. But there you go, bro.
Well, you know what? When we run into each other in LA, I'd like to switch drawings. I like to trade drawings. That would be fun.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll swap it out.
All right. So should we take an opportunity to do a reading of our book and then open the floor to some questions?
Yeah. And apologies, because I will most likely flub a lot of this, because
that's really what everybody's waiting for, Ahmet.
For me to read.
Look, that's what happens when people, win Academy Awards and things like that. That's what leads to standing ovations. So just go with it.
All right. So you're going to turn the pages and I'll read it. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right. So it says for first page, because I'm your mom, written by Ahmet Zappa, and illustrated by Dan Santat, and it should say who rocks harder than Van Halen, but I guess they left that part out. So illustrated by Dan Santat. For Arrow and Halo, I love you I love the both of you more than there are stars in the sky and
that's
waves in the ocean, which is true. All right. Because I'm your mom, you're going to get kissed all over your tummy every day. Because I'm your mom, you can pick out your own clothes, even if your shoes don't match, because that's cool. Because I'm your mom, you can have nachos for breakfast, pancakes for dinner, and popsicles in the shower. Because I'm your mom, you'll grow up knowing that rainbows and unicorns are nice, but cosmic powered smushy faced puppy corns are infinitely more awesome. Which is true. Anything with a smushed face, anything is so cute. Because I'm your mom, you can start your very own business in the front yard. And we'll go treasure hunting in the backyard whenever you want.
Just so people know, that's my favorite illustration, actually.
It's so killer. I love the Chef Arrow's Monster Munch Cafe. It's very cool. And the monsters like our Addams Family style house in the background.
Right.
So killer. Because I'm your mom, we might decide to skip your piano lesson so we can go skateboarding at the beach. And when we get home, we'll break out the art supplies and redecorate the living room walls with whatever inspires you. And I love the big halo and arrow. Both of my kids love that so much.
Yeah, that's my opportunity to flex my limited skills in tagging graffiti art.
And I love all the details on this page. The double meaning of Monsters of Rock with the electric smushy band, which is the callback to the Because of Your Dad.
Right. Yeah.
Very cool. Let's see. I promised to buy us matching super stylish sunglasses. And I'll make sure your birthdays are always mega awesome, even though our doggy really dislikes the face painter. Because I'm your mom, you might have to go on a long plane ride when I take you to Switzerland for the best chocolate in the whole wide world and to watch your dad play a radical rock concert.
I love these callbacks that we could do for the first book. That was great.
Or to Egypt to see the pyramids and take some selfies with the Sphinx. That has to happen. Because I'm your mom, I'll swing you the highest on the swing set until your toes almost touch the clouds. Because I'm your mom, I promise to kiss your owies away and to rub your sweet little feet until you feel better. By the way, always the best. The best foot rubs in the world are when you're, if you were lucky enough to have your mom rub your feet. That was a superpower. Because I'm your mom, I will ride on all the roller coasters with you, even the scary ones. And then we'll do something quiet together, like read a book, even the scary ones. Ooh, spiders. Because I'm your mom, I will teach you how to do the dinosaur dance, and we'll flap our arms like pterodactyl wings under the full moon. Because I'm your mom, we'll make wishes on shooting stars and always remember to say what we are grateful for at bedtime. I'm your mom, and I will do all these things for you and more. Because that's what my mom did for me. I'm like flubbing that as I'm like getting teary-eyed right now.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
There we go. I don't know what I had on the jacket. Oh, it's still the same. But lovely. Shout out to moms.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Happy Mother's Day in advance.
Mr. Zappa, that was a perfect reading for that. And then I guess now we have time for some Q&A.
Yes. So I need to know, can we see a dinosaur dance, or do we need your wife for that?
Oh, no, Dan goes first. You want to do the dinosaur dance real quick, Dan?
I don't know.
That feels like you're doing a puppet monster. Here you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There's the pterodactyl dance.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. So, was there ever any thought to making the family human?
I think it would be less fun, and I think there was the the notion of it, I wasn't trying to write really about, like it was me or my dad. It's really about honoring that experience. And I don't know, it would be I just think it's more fun and hopefully more universal, because if you took the idea of one particular kind of family, I think that's less inclusive. And I think the spirit was, if the monsters could be kind of any family and anybody. And I think that's hopefully people find that. I've had some folks say, when it comes to, and that's what my dad did for me, or that's what my mom did for me. When they haven't had those experiences, that's heartbreaking to have someone like kind of, I think, fixate on that reality, which is true for them. But I hope that they turn that into their own opportunity to do for their kids. Because some of that is, it's that wish fulfillment of trying, I think, to always do things with forward momentum and do them better, and to be more conscious and hopefully spread more love, and try to make the world, I don't want to sound so cliche-y, but I think the love that we put into our children and answer as many questions as we can for them and give them support, I do think helps make the future a better place. And I think we can all agree to disagree on things. It doesn't always have to be arguments, and certainly arguments can happen, but we need to be able to problem solve and do things with love. And I think that's a big intention for us with the book. I think Dan's artwork in all of his books have this really playful, optimism, and they're so fun, and being able to harness his big giant imagination. What he brought to this book is so epic. So I really do hope that it resonates for many people in different ways, even if we come from different backgrounds.
Well said.
Thank you. So, which makes me wonder, a lot of these guys look familiar to me. Dan, did you sneak in some characters from other books?
You try to do that a little bit. I like to, I have these little habits that I put in all these books, like when characters are driving cars, one of the little subtle things is that the license plate is always the same. And it's based off of this old blue Jeep Cherokee that my parents had when we were growing up. So every time you find a book that has a car license plate, it'll say 2BZK 131, which is the most obscure license plate that you could ever possibly imagine. But it exists in that way. Other than that, we have the callback, to the Electric Smushy Band, which I really loved. And other things like that. But I try to sneak in little things here and there.
Do you remember one of the? I mean, you wouldn't. We talked about it, Dan, but do you remember the origin of the platypus with a briefcase?
Oh my God, you told me.
And because I'm your dad.
Yeah, because when they're in Australia. Oh my gosh.
I was like, hey, can you just put like a platypus like holding a briefcase?
I remember that. I don't remember why though. I remember I had to do that in the second pass. Yeah.
Okay. So my dad, he used to work with this a gentleman who went by the name of Captain Beefheart, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
And so he's another musician and unbelievable painter and just a great poet. And so he called the house once, and I picked up the phone, and he goes, "Hello, is Gail there?" My mother's name was Gail. I go, "No, she's not here right now. Can I take a message?" He goes, "I was just calling to say I had a dream where I had a platypus in a briefcase." And then he hung up the phone. So that's just one of my favorite Captain Beefheart stories. And I I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to Australia a few times, and once with my mother, and we went to the Sydney Zoo, and we saw a platypus for the first time, and I sobbed. We both were going crazy. It's so cute. So that is again an interpretation of, of like these personal moments that manifested on a page in a kid's book that have multiple meanings. So that for me, all of these pages and these moments have multiple meanings that are connected to many family stories or like for my mother and father that happened with me, or things that my wife and I have done with our own kids. So just to give you an idea of what's behind every sentence.
Okay, I just remember getting the art note, but not knowing the context. So now it's amazing to know the context. That's fantastic.
I have to say, it's so nice. I am not asking any more questions because this is the closest any of us are going to get to a Zappa family album. It's fabulous.
And exactly. Dan unfortunately has to illustrate it. Yeah.
Well,
all of our family photos, Dan, you ready? You're gonna have to, they'll all be monster pictures.
Anytime. Yeah.
Who better than Dan Santat to do
Nobody.
Thank you.
Nobody.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much. And thank you all for joining us and for all of your wonderful questions. Thank you again to Ahmet Zappa and Dan Santat for today's amazing presentation. We all learned and enjoyed so much of getting to know the two of you a little bit. Don't forget, you can still click the link in the chat box and get your own copy of Because I'm Your Mom. We have many copies waiting for you. As an independent bookstore, we appreciate your support. Also, be sure to check out our website for updated events listings, and you can follow our Children and Teens department on social media under @Kids and Prose. Thank you again, and have a lovely evening, everyone.
Thank you guys so much.
Everyone. Have a lovely day.